All right, lesson number 3 deals with perimeter and circumference. So we have two objectives. The first is I can determine the perimeter of geometric figures. The second is I can determine the circumference of a circle when given that circle's radius or diameter. So we'll start over here with perimeter. And the perimeter simply means the distance around a shape. And so how we're going to determine the perimeter of any geometric figure is by adding together all of the side lengths. And in this example here, hopefully you can see, we are given most of the side lengths for this shape, but there are a couple that are left blank. So you're always going to want to look for that. It's pretty typical that there will be at least one side length that is left blank. And so your first step is going to be to determine all of the side lengths. And once you've done that, then you will add them all together to get your perimeter. So we've got two missing side lengths. I'm going to start with this one over here. We can see that this side length opposite is equal to 9. We're going to say this is inches, 9 inches. And so that means that therefore this side length is also 9 inches. Here's our other missing side length, and this one's going to require a little bit more thought because we can't just simply look across from it. This whole side is equal to 15. This one is shorter. But we can see that we have these side lengths up here. So I'm going to kind of use these dotted lines to show here are the corresponding pieces. So this piece is 4 inches and this piece is 3. We know that this entire side length, or we could think of it as a line segment, is equal to 15. And if we subtract these two little line segments, so 15 minus 4 minus 3, we are left with 8 remaining for this line segment, this side length. Once you've determined all the side lengths, your final step is going to be to add all of them together to get your perimeter. So in this case, we would have 9 plus 4 plus 5 plus 8 plus 5 plus 3 plus 9 plus 15. And I do recommend working your way around the shape sequentially just to make sure that you don't accidentally miss a side or count a side twice. So once you do add all of those numbers together in this particular problem, you get 58. And I said this was inches. 58 inches for the perimeter, the distance around. Moving down to circumference. So the circumference is a type of perimeter that specifically applies to circles. Okay, so the circumference is the perimeter of a circle, and we have a formula to be able to determine circumference. This is the one that I use most commonly. 2 pi r, which means 2 times the number pi times r, which is the radius of the circle. We'll talk about that in a second. Or you can do pi times d. D stands for the diameter of the circle. Okay, so let's define radius and diameter. Okay, the radius is the distance from the center of the circle out to any outside point on the circle. Okay, so here's one radius. I can start from the center of the circle and go out to any outside point on this circle. The distance will always be the same, and we call that distance the radius, or r for short. Okay. The diameter is 2 times the radius. Okay, so it's your way across, all the way across from the outside point through the center to the opposite outside point, and you can see how that is the radius twice, or 2 times the radius. And that is why for your circumference formula, if you're given the diameter of a circle, you can simply multiply that diameter times pi, and that would be your circumference. If you were given the radius, you're going to want to multiply that radius by 2 and then by pi. Okay, so sample problem down here in green. If the radius of a circle is 3 centimeters, what is the circumference? Okay, so we are given the radius is 3 centimeters, and we're simply going to plug that into this formula where we've got 2, I'll put it up here, 2 pi times the radius, which is 3. And then we can do the multiplication of the numbers, the whole numbers that we have here. So 2 times 3 is 6, and we can leave our answer as 6 pi. Now, if you would like, you've got a pi key on your calculator. You can type that in and get just a number. But I tend to prefer that it's just in terms of pi. That's the most accurate and it's the easiest for you. You're not having to deal with decimals or anything like that. And so the answer to this problem, where the radius is 3 centimeters, is 6 pi. Now let's say you were given the diameter of the circle. So let's say instead it says if the diameter of the circle is 6 centimeters, what is the circumference? In that case, it's actually even easier because you're just taking that diameter and you're sticking pi next to it. Okay, so if it says the diameter of the circle is what did I say, 6 centimeters, you'd say that the circumference is 6 pi centimeters. Okay. If the diameter was 12 centimeters, the circumference would be 12 pi, okay, and so forth. Moving over here, this is where it really gets fun and interesting. So here we have a geometric figure, and you can see it doesn't only have straight lines. Let's get a little bit closer. So it kind of looks like we've got part of a rectangle and then part of a circle. So we're going to have to combine both of these objectives together in order to find the perimeter of this interesting shape here. So first off, we notice we don't have all the side lengths, and it seems as though we're missing quite a few, really. We can start here where we're given this side length of what it looks like a rectangle is 10. So from that, we know that this opposite side length is also 10. And to determine this one, we're going to look over at this semicircle, half of a circle, and we can see that the radius is given to us. This radius is 3. So that would mean then, here's our center of we could say it's a circle. I'll just draw the rest of the circle in a dotted line so we can kind of see that a little bit more clearly. If this radius is 3, that means that every radius, which again is the distance from the center of the circle out to any outside point, is 3. So that means that this is 3 and this is also 3, which means that this dotted line side of the rectangle is going to be 3 plus 3 over here, or 6. Okay, so now we have our missing side lengths for the rectangle portion. And for the circle portion, we'll need to use our circumference formula. Okay, so we know our radius is 3. So we actually just solved this problem over here. We've got 6 pi. Well, let me break that down a little bit more. Our radius is 3, so 2 pi times the radius. And we know that our radius is 3. 2 pi times 3. That's going to be 6 pi. Now that would be the circumference for this entire circle, but you see that this shape only includes half of the circle. So we'll need to divide this in half, 6 divided by 2. And that is going to give us 3 pi for this curved line here. Then for our final answer, we will add together all of our side lengths. So we've got 10 plus 6 plus 10 plus 3 pi. And what I would do is just add the whole numbers together. So we've got 10 plus 6 is 16, plus 10 is 26. And then I would just add this separately since it's in terms of pi. So 26 plus 3 pi, and let's say this was centimeters. And that is our answer for the perimeter for this rectangle circle hybrid shape.